Time for another board game review, and this time we have the game Kawa, a game about flow. This was sent me by the Aerie Games and is designed by Andre Hui, John Neufeld, Brandon Ong, and Russell Wee. In this game of quiet contemplation, be careful to avoid the petals of other players while getting them to flow into yours. The river's inhabitants liven up the scene, making each trip down the river unique. Let me show you how to play. So in Kawa, you are trying to score the most points by flowing through petals you have on the river. Each round of Kawa is split into 3 phases. In phase 1, each player places their starting tile along the river's start. So starting with player 1, if you look at this wheel here, this tells you who's first. In this case, blue player, let's say they go here. Then the other players would also choose starting positions. Then in reverse turn order, each player flows down the river in phase 2. First, each player swaps an adjacent pair of tiles. So, let's say that red player decides they're gonna do, I don't know, these two, okay? They swap those 2 pairs, and then they flow their petals down the river. So upon entering a river tile, all players with petal tokens on that tile gain points. However, in this first turn, there's no petals. Then the active player must place one of their petals in that river tile. If they have no petal tokens left, they place no token, but continue. And you continue by following the direction of the flow. So this goes down here, and like that. Then the next player would do the same thing. Let's say this player swaps these 2 tiles, and then they flow. So they would go one here, down here, through here. There's a special rule for that. We'll get into that. And then out. When you go through a whirlpool, you flow through it normally. Then the player has to rotate it to a new orientation. It has to remain in line with the grid, and it cannot cause petals to flow upstream. So this player can turn it like this, and now the whirlpool has moved. There are special tiles. In the beginning, you can swap 2 straight tiles with 2 of these special tiles. This is a sparrow tile. Whenever any player flows through the sparrows, the players with the fewest points gains a point. I guess in this case, everyone would get a point because everyone's at 0. Now let's show an actual how scoring works. So let's say the next player does this. It's not like a particularly good move, but I'm just showing you the scoring. So as they flow here, this player, pink player, already has a petal here. They get a point. Here, pink player gets another point. Now this, it actually loops up to this tile up here, and then it loops back onto this tile. So as a result, pink player would get 3 points. Not a very smart turn, but I'm just showing you how the scoring works. In a subsequent turn, if somebody put a petal here, both pink and orange player would score a point. There are also double petal tokens. If someone flows through a river tile and you have a double petal, you get 2 points. And to keep track of points, each player has a little score tracker like so. Let's say finally, I don't know, a blue player does this. And so we go boop, boop, loops up. Red player scores a point, and then loops back up to there. Oh, actually, one thing I forgot to mention is that the last player in this phase gets to swap 2 tiles. So if they wanted, they could do that, and they could swap, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. Let's say these or something. So it was through here instead. So everyone who had the least amount of points would get a point. Once everyone has flowed through the river, then players have to take back petals to their pool. Player 1 takes back 3 petals, so they could go like 1, 2, 3. Player 2 takes back 2, so 1, 2. Player 3 takes back a single petal, so something like this. Player 4 takes back none. Then what happens is all the river tiles in the row closest to the river's end get replaced. Anything that's here gets washed away. You shuffle them up and you put them down at river's start. So now the river has changed a bit. Then each player moves clockwise on this turn order wheel. So now different players will take back different numbers of tokens, or the last player in this case will get to do two swaps. Actually, I messed up a rule. Ah, my God. Okay, so I said that the first player gets to go or swap tiles, but really this is such confusing wording, but it's the last player in turn order, but in that phase, they go in reverse turn order, so the fourth player gets to swap two adjacent tiles, not the first player. Honestly, I kind of hate how that's written in the rulebook, but whatever. Anyway, that player gets to swap two pairs of adjacent tiles. Anyway, that is one round. Then players go through, they pick their starting spaces again according to turn order. And then they flow through, score points if they flow through petals that they own, and so on and so forth. Now, some special tiles. This catfish tile, it copies the tile that it's pointing at. So this is actually this tile. And if it's not pointing at anything, it's just a straight tile. There are a bunch of different special tiles. I'm not going to go through every single one, but you have, for example, like the Dragon Orb. When a player flows into the Dragon Orb, they may swap any basic river tile with any Whirlpool tile. Or you have the Eel. If a player flows through any tile that would make them move across the river's edge, meaning the outer edges, they may instead flow straight to the next tile. And this effect applies to all tiles, not just the Eel tile. It just changes the rules of the game. So you have all these different tiles you can mix in at the beginning of the game to change it up. But otherwise, that's the game. Once you play 4 rounds, whoever has the most points is the winner. And that's the game.
So this one is a little too simple for me. I appreciate the vibe they're going for. You know, it's a relaxing, simple game, you know, flowing down the river, counting out the points. You know, I don't hate that vibe. I just feel like the problem with this game is that at the end of the day, you're not doing that much. But let's talk about what works. I think the art is very nice. I do like the very small portable size of the box. I appreciate that, you know, you can swap in those special tiles, make the game more unique, and, you know, they can change the rules of the game and so on. So variety is good. However, it doesn't change the fact for me that really all you're doing in this game is you pick a spot to start and then you swap a pair. Maybe 2 tiles, or 2 pairs, I mean. But otherwise, you just pick a spot, swap, and you're just kind of seeing what happens after that. I mean, yes, there is strategy. Like, you want to, you know, move tiles around so that you get more points or your opponents don't get points. But that's kind of it. And chances are, based on the turn order or whatever gets switched before your turn or whatever, there's not a whole lot you might be able to do that on your turn, depending on whatever. Like, it's kind of it. You know, it's not a bad thing, but at the end of the day, it's pretty simple. So with that said, it's not a bad game. I think it's decent. It's, you know, it's low key, it's calm. I get the vibe that they're going for. I just didn't find it particularly engaging, but, you know, maybe it's just not for me. I just think it's a little too simple.